Hello, I'm Megan, and sorry, I'm getting my testimony up. I majored in elementary education, and I've been in TLCW since I was a freshman, and so I've been here for 4 years already. And here's my testimony. So, I grew up in a Christian family where my mom always had us pray every single night as a family and go to church on Sundays and read the Bible and things like that. But I followed along without really understanding why I had to do this. I just knew that I didn't want to go to hell. Like, that was one of the biggest fears for me. But God slowly worked in me in high school, where I found myself actually enjoying going to church and paying attention. But my relationship with God didn't change drastically when I was in high school. I still had this superstitious mindset where I believed that if I didn't do Christian things, then bad things would happen to me. And until much later on did I realize that the true consequences of our sins was actually being apart from Christ. That was what hell would have looked like. And furthermore, I only remembered God when I needed something. And when I faced challenges, it was like the time where I would suddenly become the most diligent in following a Christian lifestyle. Like, I would read the Bible consistently and pray every day because I wanted to pass like an exam. And that was my relationship, what it looked like when I was in high school. I had no accountability when I sinned and always found a way to blame it on somebody else or justify my actions. But that was the end of high school, and then college came, and now I had to independently experience God apart from my family. And I thought I knew everything before I came to college. I knew the stories and I knew what sinning meant. But I realized when I came to college that I had barely touched the surface. There was still so much that I needed to understand, and it was kind of like going back to the basics of Christianity, and I had to relearn everything. And this college ministry sent me on this spiritual high where we would read the Bible every week and have so many conversations about Christianity, and I was so interested in it. I was excited for this new chapter in my life where I could be away from home in college and starting a new church by myself. And so when I was 18 years old, as a freshman, I thought I was so holy and so mature, and I thought I knew everything. So when I became a sophomore, I decided to become a Bible study leader, and having this named role in the church made me want to perfect my faith. But I realized when I was leading Bible studies, my life contradicted what I was teaching about. I was living my life with so much selfishness, insecurity, and a lot of anger. And I realized that it was so different from what I was talking about, and I had no more excuses to run to. So now I was confronted with the reality of my sins and how far I've actually fallen. And God revealed to my pride that when I was leading these Bible studies, I was relying on my own understanding and how much I knew. And when I would point fingers to other people, say, oh, they didn't do this and that, I realized that I was doing the same thing. And so there was no fruit, no matter how hard I pushed. And I was spiraling for months, and I came to this conclusion that if people knew what I really thought and how I really acted, then they wouldn't be able to stand me, and I would have no one. And all of these revelations, all of these thoughts, they were kind of like a purge. It had to be bad until it could become good. And then a friend told me that God knows literally every single part of our lives, but He still continues to faithfully love us. At my lowest, God's love became the most evident. I'm sure you guys have heard this verse, Jeremiah 31:3. It says, I have loved you with an everlasting love. And now all the burdens that occupied my world and my mind felt so minute and so small in the presence of God. He is greater than it all. And I was thinking of the true gospel, and I realized that I was so consumed by my self-pity and my obsession with my shortcomings that I had completely forgotten who this was all about. It wasn't about me, but it was about God, the one who created us. And my testimony, it shouldn't be about me, but the one who created us. Time passed and it was summer, and I got baptized in a river, and this pastor painted this image where as the river flows, your old life and your past sins are being washed away with the river, and you would come up as a new person walking in your new life with Christ. And that brings us to, I got baptized, I think 1 year ago. The summer of my junior year, so it's still pretty recent. And that brings us today. All these bumps and cracks in the road make me so thankful for how God has faithfully carried me along the way. And I continue to fail in many aspects in my life, but God fills in what I lack the most with something even better. 2 Corinthians 12:9 says, "My grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness." And today I find myself in the storms able to stay calm, and sometimes I'm even confused about my reactions about certain situations. And Psalms 139:12 also says, "Even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is as bright as the day, for darkness is as light with you." And knowing how sufficient God has been in my life gives me the confidence to live my life out for Him and not for me. And now I want to talk about how this church has impacted me. Our young adult ministry is truly one of a kind. When I was going back to California, I was trying to find a young adult ministry that I could go to. And I visited about 5 young adult ministries, and none of them were like TLCWs. And I soon realized that I really needed to value the time that I have left with this church. And there's this quote from this show, Office, and it says, this character, he said, "I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them. But because of God's grace, I don't relate to this quote, and I really do believe that I'm living in the good old days right now." And in these 4 years, I got to see God's provisions in my life through this community and with my major, which I love so much, and they're really close to my heart. And and although our time has come to an end, you all have left me with so many memories and so many lessons. So thank you for all of that.